Hello, hello, and welcome to Non Sequitur News for October 30th, 2024, Season 3, Episode 304. This is a time machine episode, so we're not streaming it over on Twitch. It will be posted over on YouTube and to the podcast. And then Thursday's episode may or may not go until Friday, may not kick off until Friday. But anyway, I am Mayor Watt. The Sentient AI is not available at the moment, and we're going to talk about these 10 articles. Where's the meat? Well, not in the subway. Taking orchestra jobs. Boeing goes boom. That's just gross. AI making up patient details, medications, and more. Bridge command. Walking pneumonia in Japan. What the hell is Ogilvyland? Optimal glass shape, and nothing glows in the dark. That and more on the other side of ohmtown.com, which brings everything to you. No noise, just news. And then we talk about it here on the show. We only do 10 articles, but there are thousands upon thousands, actually about 1.4 million headlines and little snippets that we aggregate that I use for my information overload. Scan about 2,000 articles or so a day. So go check it out, ohmtown.com. Many thanks. See you on the other side. All right, folks, let's get into this. First article, and I actually love this stuff. I really want this to take off more and more and more. I'm tired of, well, what I want is truth in advertising, and what we get is marketing. And I actually ended up talking with somebody that owns a Subway, and they said that, sure, they can make it look like this, but it takes too long. And I said, well, what about all of the lack of quality? There's not the same materials in it. You know, the marketing makes it look like it's 2 feet thick. But no, that's not how it is, right? So a woman is suing Subway because their sandwiches have way less meat than their ads. And it's just not the meat. It's the lettuce, it's tomatoes, it's everything. And it's not just Subway, it's everywhere, and it's really disgusting, and I don't like it. I don't like being sold a bill of goods, and then the only recourse is, well, it's close enough, and blah, blah, blah. Well, to get it the same price, to get it to where it's supposed to be in the advertising, they're going to charge a shit ton more, and they're going to take a whole lot longer, is basically what I was told by the way, an owner of a Subway. So multiple outlets reported that a woman named Anna Tollison filed a proposed class action suit against the sandwich chain in federal court. In it, she alleged that Subway has been grossly misleading customers with its ads. And again, it's not just Subway. But so you'll see these ads, right? And they'll have a bunch of stuff. I mean, just the quality is outrageously great and whatever. But then when you actually see pictures of it, which they don't really highlight in this article, but Paige Gawley over at Vice.com put this article together. It says the deck statement says a new lawsuit alleged that Subway didn't dole out the same amount of meat that was shown in its false and misleading ads. And it absolutely freaking is false and misleading. They don't toast it to that level. They don't have the same accoutrement that is added to it. And the quality doesn't match that. And definitely the quantity doesn't match that. It looks, every time I've ever had a Subway, at least outside of a brand new store where they're trying to ramp up people believing that it's going to stay this way. It looks like somebody has gone a couple rounds, boxing or a couple plays at the 50-yard line. They're just all beat up. So, but this is the Queens, New York-based resident claimed that she paid $7.61 for a steak and cheese sandwich at Subway upon retrieving her meal. It says receiving it here, but upon retrieving it, Tollison was shocked that there was barely any steak in the sandwich, and she further claimed that the Subway's false and misleading advertisements do materially overstate the amount of meat in its sandwiches, and the restaurant does so by showing at least 200% more meat than Tollison was served, she claimed. Yeah, and I would believe it. So unfortunately, this article doesn't have all of the information. There are other pictures of this. I don't follow on the links, but you can follow the links. And I'm not streaming it live, so there are no. I'll post the show notes into Omatron, but they'll be in the YouTube and podcast show notes so that you can follow it. So similar lawsuits against McDonald's, Wendy's, Taco Bell were previously dismissed. I think that that's a shame. Others like Buffalo Wild Wings, that was actually that. I think it was ongoing, but I think quality control and truth in advertising is necessary, and you just don't see it when you look at a Subway sandwich. I hope that they win. I hope that others, McDonald's, Wendy's, Taco Bell, all of their stuff always looks horribly lacking, at least on average, from all of the ones that I've been to. But let's keep on going. The next article is over in Non Sequitur News. A robot plays cello with live orchestra. So now they're coming for your jobs as a musician in the physical sense, taking your jobs in an orchestra, a symphony orchestra. Reuters reports, but this is actually from, I think, Futurity. I think, but we'll see when we get to the other side. This was sourced from Reuters, but I got it sourced from a site that I aggregate from. Or I should say that ohmtown.com is the aggregating agent here. So as Reuters reports, a pair of industrial robotic arms programmed by researcher and composer Fredrik Gran played a piece by Swedish composer Jacob Mulrud alongside the Malmö Symphony Orchestra earlier this month, and footage of the unusual event, they say it's unusual, shows the arms smoothly gliding a bow across the instrument's four strings, somewhat like a human musician, while a 3D printed appendage allows it to manipulate the fretboard, resulting in an eerie, albeit crude and expressionless performance. And I don't know if it is. I did not listen to it. But it's, oh, these are industrial robots. Oh my goodness. They could easily have made something less this. Yeah, it says an eerie performance, but I don't know. Technically sophisticated. There is a video of it. This is over at futurism.com. And Victor Tangerman is the author of this in a section, I guess, called The Bite. It says it's particularly difficult technological feat considering the complexity of playing a stringed instrument compared to simply hitting a note on a piano or striking a drum. Simply, yes, I suppose so. Wow, that's very reductive of drumming and piano, but okay. So Gran actually worked with two industrial robot arms that could play the cello, Mulrad told Reuters, quote, and I thought that was very interesting because there's obviously a lot of self-playing pianos, but the string instrument is so intricate. So they were very curious about how it actually works. While he's already considering employing AI during future performances, he also said that it's impossible to ever fully replace live musicians. I don't know about impossible, but all right. I mean, if you're going to have a live performance, then either it's a live performance with humans and thus replace live musicians. No, obviously not. But you could, I mean, streaming is replacing live musicians, and the musicians that I actually enjoy are the musicians that sound the same in production, where it is the idealized performance, right? Versus what's on stage. You know, I love it when I hear a musician sound just like their production. So yeah. Anyway, interesting. So let's keep moving. This next article is basically not giving Boeing any respite. One thing after another. This is over in Non Sequitur News. Boeing satellite exploded into at least 500 pieces of debris. According to this, earlier this month, a massive satellite that belonged to multinational service provider Intelsat and was being built by Boeing mysteriously exploded into pieces. Beyond an official update detailing an anomaly that resulted in a total loss of the satellite dubbed s3e304, officials have yet to determine the exact cause. I know what it is. Boeing and its new, mandate of profits over doing it right. My understanding is the culture has changed within Boeing and it's seeking profit. And for the life of me, it seems like this is becoming the status quo. Profit, 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 profit. Screw everything else. Mergers, acquisitions, get bought out, that kind of a thing, so that you don't have to deal with the eventual collapse because you're not happy with just getting the percentage of profit margin that you would normally get. So you get investors and you grow and you have to reach this untenable position of 10% on top of the previous quarter's 10% on top of the previous quarter's 10%. It's untenable without mergers and acquisitions or cutting things, and thus you end up Subway. So the satellite blew up. Victor Tangerman over at futurism.com again put this article together. And the extent of the resulting cloud of space junk is only starting to come to light as Space News reports. Space tracking company Exoanalytic Solutions has identified a whopping 500 pieces of debris now littering Earth's geostationary orbit some 22,000 miles above the surface, and that's only the big ones. The size of the debris we're tracking range from small fragments roughly the size of a softball to larger pieces of up to the size of a car door. Exoanalytic CTO Bill Theron told Space News the majority of the tracked objects are on the smaller end of that spectrum, which contributes to the difficulty of consistently observing all of the debris. Wild. So nonetheless, precarious situation with the potential for space debris triggering a potentially catastrophic cascading series of events, a phenomenon known as a Kessler syndrome. While we have yet to hear what the root cause of ISS-33E's demise is, its predecessor, Intelsat 29E, was similarly declared a total loss in 2019 after just 3 years in orbit. An investigator later concluded that it either was hit by a meteoroid or had a wiring flaw that led to an electrostatic discharge triggered by bad solar weather in orbit. Aliens. Let's keep moving. The next article is over in Non Sequitur News at ohmtown.com. Go over and become a citizen, folks. Explosive Russian sewage leaks spurts as high as high-rise buildings. And I actually saw video of this. I cannot imagine how disgusting it is in downtown, wherever this was. I can't remember what it was. So things in Russia seem pretty crappy after a massive, and the article means massive. It dwarfed surrounding high-rise buildings. A fountain of refuse, that's just sewage, was recorded spewing out of a ruptured sewage main in Moscow. It's disgusting. In a tweet, former Ukrainian government advisor Anton Geranchenko shared videos from the explosive incident. Moscow Telegram channels report that the sewage system in Moscow broke down and a fountain the height of a residential building is seen in one of Moscow's districts. The Telegram reports that the sewage system broke down. But boy, I mean, this is measured, there's like a little background snippet here that a thumbnail. Noor Al-Sabai over at futurism.com put the article together, and there's this little image, right? This graphic, and it's from the ground floor looking up, so it makes it look like taller than it is, right? But then I've actually seen video of this from a distance. This thing is tall. A fountain the height of a residential building is seen in one of Moscow's districts. A shit show, literally. They don't say what the height of this was, but this had to have been at least 30, 40 feet. At least. I mean, earlier today, I was standing outside of a building that's 45, 50 feet tall. And this dwarfed that. So, or I should say the poo fountain dwarfed this building, and I was standing right next to it. So, there seems to be far less ambiguity about the contents of, it says, dubbed a Poocano by The Sun, another British tabloid, there seems to be far less ambiguity about the contents of the Chinese plume than the one in Russia. They say, I'm drenched in poo. My car is splattered yellow. One unfortunate driver reportedly complained, per The Sun, it's ruined. Unbelievable. I just cannot. This one was apparently in China. But the other one was definitely in Russia. This is just, and it's horrible. So anyway, I'm going to move on. I focus too much on this anyway. Pretty wild. Okay, so this next article is over in Non Sequitur News as well. AI model used by hospitals caught making up details about patients, inventing non-existent medications, and apparently sexual acts. In an investigation from the Associated Press, again, Futurity is the one that put this together, but the Associated Press is their source. Dozens of experts have found that Whisper, an AI-powered transcription tool made by OpenAI, is plagued with frequent hallucinations and inaccuracies, with the AI model often inventing completely unrelated text. What's even more concerning, though, is who's relying on the tech. According to the AP, despite OpenAI warnings that its model shouldn't be used in high-risk domains, over 30,000 medical workers and 40 health systems use Nabla, a tool built on Whisper, to transcribe and summarize patient interactions, almost certainly with inaccurate results. So Frank Landemore over at futurism.com put this article together. And I'm really confused by this, because you should not be using AI in any risk type of position. Not lawyers, not police, professors shouldn't be using it. Nobody, where somebody else's future is going to be impacted by a freaking hallucination by AI. AI is great for content creation, but it has to be creative creation, not something that is bound in the raw truth of the matter. If I have to use AI and then go off and verify everything, then I might as well write it myself. And while I have used AI for creative efforts, I will never, and it's very easy to detect for a professional who uses AI and sees normal human writing, both in the professional sense and publishing, and then sees AI writing. Once you interact with the person that's doing the writing, you can tell that what they're writing and what the AI is writing for them are polar opposites. So unless they are, well, I won't even get into the specifics of it, but so they say Whisper performed poorly even when well-recorded short audio samples. According to a recent study cited by AP, over millions of recordings, there could be tens of thousands of hallucinations, researchers warned. Another team of researchers revealed just how egregious these errors can be. Whisper would inexplicably add racial commentary, they found, such as making up a person's race without instruction, and also invent non-existent medications. In other words, the AI would describe various acts and had no basis in the original speech. They even found baffling instances of YouTuber lingo, such as like and subscribe, being dropped into the script, into the transcript. It's amazing that anybody would actually use this. They give a couple of examples. And there's more for you to read over in this article, but you really should go and read it. Again, it's over at futurism.com by Frank Landemore. And the article's title is AI Model Used by Hospitals Caught Making Up Details About Patients, Inventing Non-Existent Medications and Sexual Acts. The deck statement says generative AI in medical documents. What could go wrong? Indeed. Let's keep moving. The next article is over in Technology Today. Bridge Command lets you live out your Starship fantasies. I actually would love to play this. I own it, but I haven't played it yet with anybody. In 2016, they dragged this author from Engadget, dragged their Engadget colleagues to a preview of Star Trek Bridge Crew, a VR title letting you live out your fantasies of sitting on the bridge of a starship. Sadly, despite having 2 fans in the team, they failed miserably at the game, a wound that they've been nursing ever since. When Bridge Command, London's latest attraction, asked them if they wanted to try out its real-world equivalent, they leapt at the chance. After all, it wasn't just them testing out a new sci-fi themed event. It was a shot at redemption. So the author, Daniel Cooper, from Engadget, wrote this article. The deck statement says London's newest attraction is glorious fun. Just don't call it Star Trek. It's called Bridge Command. And you actually get to live it. So I love the idea of this. I actually own Star Trek Bridge Crew. Maybe I'll give it a try this weekend. I don't know. Bridge Command sits in the space between escape room, team building exercise, live action roleplay, and immersive theater. It's essentially a paid-for live-action role-playing game taking place on a custom-built starship set, which costs £3 million, or about $4 million US, to play Space Captain. In order to survive and succeed, each player must work with their team, communicate, and solve problems on the fly for the better part of 2 hours, which is awesome. I love this. I hope they have a Kobayashi Maru type setup. Have an aside here. There's plenty of existing bridge simulator role-playing games and a small but vibrant community that supports it. Digital platforms like Thorium Nova, Artemis, Empty Epsilon are all platforms that enable folks to gather around to play in teams. Bridge Command itself is built on top of Empty Epsilon's platform, albeit with some degree of customization on top. So exploration, military space dogfighting, intrigue like espionage and subtle action, and diplomacy, making nice with aliens. They dragged their Trek-loving friends along to one of the previews, which set us on a military mission on the UCS Havoc, tasked with escorting a resupply mission to a large warship on assignment, a rather mundane assignment. It's not much of a spoiler to suggest that their gang of plucky underdogs might wind up in over their heads on a far grander mission. So, looks pretty cool. The captain is actually set up on a regular office chair. Everybody's sitting in office chairs. That's the kind of unsettling thing about it. It's just like office chairs, but they're on a platform, which I don't know if OSHA would really appreciate that. Anyway, safety of this is a little more important than I would say that they have here in place. Member of the Bridge Command team starts as the captain, giving us a tour of the ship and assigning roles for each person to play. After we all get used to the basics and what might be called the tutorial stage, the captain then departs to help elsewhere, and they're sent off to scout for incoming threats in nearby nebula that, quelle surprise, are full of pirates. Naturally, the closer that they get to the battle group, the harder the attacks that they have to repel, forcing the chief engineer to race around repairing and repowering systems. So it looks pretty cool. Yeah, $40 a session or $50 US. And the cost is a little steep, they say. Even so, you can easily make this long-running role-playing game. Yeah, I dig this. I want this locally, but I don't think there's anything here. It's in St. George Wharf, which is next to Vauxhall Tube Station in London. So they say ticket prices start at $50 US, 48 pounds, at off-peak times for a single session. But that has to be per person. They don't really say what it is. They just have the price. They don't say it's per person. Okay, let's keep moving though. Oh, and if anybody wants to play Star Trek Bridge Crew, let me know. Okay, so this next article is going to be quick. There is a surge of walking pneumonia cases hitting Japan, sparking mask warnings. The article is over at thetelegraph.co.uk. Ewan Bolton put the article together. The country typically sees a spike in mycoplasma pneumonia every 5 years, but the severity of the current outbreak is worrying some experts. But Japan is pretty well known for proactively wearing masks, either to protect themselves from others during these kind of phases of high illness, or they wear a mask themselves because of either they have a cold or smog or whatever. And typically elderly do it. But Japan typically sees a spike in these cases, and the pneumonia is known as walking pneumonia, mycoplasma pneumonia, because its long incubation period and comparatively mild symptoms allow carriers to spread the disease before falling ill. It's kind of like COVID, right? Coronavirus. The flus are coronaviruses, but not all of them are COVID-19. But it had a relatively long but sedate incubation period into translation into its full-blown episode. So people thought that they just had a cold, but it was actually building and building and building. And by the time they actually take action, lungs are filling with liquid and so on. And it actually caused damage, greater damage than just walking pneumonia. So patients are being urged to seek further medical assistance if their symptoms persist after completing prescribed antibiotics. An additional challenge such cases pose is that antibiotics, quinolone and tetracycline, to which the bacteria are less likely to be resistant, can cause severe side effects in children. According to data released by the Japanese NIID, between 20 and 30% of infections of mycoplasma pneumonia are antibiotic-resistant varieties, though this actually represents a decrease in incidence of such strains in Japan over the past 10 years. So, yeah, if anybody that you know has gone to Japan and come back, they've got a cold, it might not be just something like a airplane crud or a regular cold. So they should get checked out. So let's move on. The next article, and we have 3 articles left, including this one, and I have no idea what Ogilvyland is, but Ogilvy's clients just received a curious package, a golden ticket to Ogilvyland. Okay, so 5 major Ogilvy clients received golden tickets yesterday morning, but they won't get them into Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. Instead, the tickets promise entry into Ogilvyland, a satirical fossil fuel fun fair dreamed up by activists at the climate campaign group Serious People. The hand-delivered package also includes an oily pop and a letter to each company's leaders. The article is over at adweek.com. I don't know if I'm going to be able to read any more about this because they have a paywall. The Fossil Fuel Fun Fair is the work of climate activists protesting the agency's relationship with BP and others. So yeah, it locks after this. I don't think I can actually... Yeah, I don't log into the accounts. So, yeah, hand-delivered package also included an oily pop and a letter. I don't know what an oily pop is. Highlighting the conflicts between their own sustainability goals and the work of Ogilvy does for fossil fuel companies. It says Ogilvy's worst nightmare is some of their big clients with, and then there's another word with. So it says with big commitments to sustainability, just asking some questions, says Jamie Inman, co-founder of Serious People, who spoke to Adweek about it. This article, by the way, is again over at adweek.com by Catherine Lundstrom. Let's move on. The next article is over in Mobile. Mobile is kind of a project that I'm working on to kind of bring social-driven news into ohmtown.com. Professor calculates optimal glass shape for preserving chill in beer glasses. Claudio Pellegrini, a professor of thermal and fluid sciences at the Federal University of São João del Rei in Brazil. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that even remotely correct. They've calculated the optimal shape for a beer glass to keep the beer cold for as long as possible. He's written a paper describing his analysis of beer glass shapes and posted it on the archive preprint server. Well, I think the reality of this is that you need probably not just a beer shape or a beer glass shape, but you need a double hold glass or one that has a vacuum inside it to keep the thermal variability from penetrating. So you got to stop it. You got to stop heat from going in and cold from coming out. And the only way to do that is a vacuum. So you'll lose minimal at the top. But if it's a dual walled glass, then you're probably in a better shape. But Professor calculates optimal glass. So Bob Yurka over at phys.org put the article together. Prior research and a lot of anecdotal evidence suggests that beer consumers prefer their beverage cold, generally as cold as possible. Many such beer drinkers also prefer to consume their beverages from a clear glass. Doing so allows for enjoying the look of the beer as it's being consumed and makes for an easy and tasty consumption. Unfortunately, the two desires represent a conundrum. Drinking from a glass allows the beer to lose its chill very quickly. Because of that, beer glass makers have developed a variety of designs meant to retain as much chill as possible for as long as possible. Some say make it really thick, others it's the shape, but really I think that it needs to be dual walled. So to determine such a shape, Pellegrini did not include external factors such as the warmth of a hand holding the glass or the types of glass used. Instead, he went for the basics, testing nothing but shape to determine heat transfer rates. A glass with a smooth curve fixed around a vertical axis, one with a straight height, radius, and base to top ratio, basically a cylinder. He also assumed an insulated base, ensuring that heat loss would occur only out of the top and sides. And they don't actually have a picture of it. So optimized looks like this. So, I don't know what, interesting. So they don't actually show the optimized one, but they have three pictures, one called Optimized Beer Glasses Shapes, category Brazilian Tulip, category Imperial Pint, and category American Pint. And so Brazilian Tulip is a much taller, thinner shape. And then the Imperial Pint and American Pint are largely the same. One's just like a micron taller. So in doing the calculations, Pellegrini found, unsurprisingly, that the best shape is also one of the most popular, a glass with a small base that grows wider as it approaches the top, such as the Pilsner. They also acknowledge that the true best result is one where a glass is so small that the beer is consumed in 1 or 2 quick gulps, but he insists drinking beer in such an ugly fashion misses the point of drinking beer altogether. So this is a really cool article. And in fact, there are some places that have very small glasses, 8-ounce glasses. And basically you get a little chit that that is set down next to your glass every time you get it refilled, and somebody walks around with a bigger, what do you call it? I don't know. Somebody walks around and fills it up from a larger container. And so you just drink it really fast, not really fast. You drink it as fast as you want to consume it. But if you want to consume it the most cold, you get it, you drink it fast. But I still think that making a vacuum gap between the inner and outer wall of a glass would be ideal for retaining the cold. All right, and our last article for today is over in Technology Today. Nothing, a company that produces a phone and a couple of other things. Nothing's first community-designed smartphone glows in the dark. The Nothing Phone 2A Plus Community Edition is Nothing's latest smartphone. Using designs submitted by the community, and it glows in the dark. Depending on your location, you can register for a chance to buy the device starting yesterday. But that doesn't guarantee a purchase. Only 1,000 of them will be available, and they won't be sold in North America, Taiwan, and Korea. Nothing first called for the community to design a product back in March. The contest had 4 stages: creating a new look, crafting wallpapers, designing a new package, and then developing a marketing campaign. Jeremy Gann over at Engadget.com put the article together. They refer to it as spooky. Interesting. So let's see. It says, interestingly, those in Malaysia like the author, and the author is Jeremy Gann, like I said. Thailand and Philippines don't have to register to potentially purchase one. They can buy one through Nothing's official partners, although they have to be fast, as there's only 25 devices per country. Fans of Nothing's phones in Japan can also register for the phone, but the ones they'll get are based on the older Nothing Phone 2A. Interesting. So the Nothing Phone 2A Plus Community Edition will launch on November 12th and sell for £399, or around $430. It comes with 12 gigs of RAM, 250 gigs of storage, but they don't talk about the rest of this in the article. You'll have to follow the links that are in the article. But that's it, folks. So we're going to turn off the lights, and that's going to show us the front page of ohmtown.com, where you should go and become a citizen. But in the meantime, I am going to check out I Am Mayor Watt. Sentient AI isn't available right now. And we might be back on October 31st, spooky day, Halloween, to do the 8 o'clock show of Non Sequitur News. Usually I don't have the availability. I just happen to right now to do the time machine. But I may not be able to do the nighttime edition. So anyway, I'll see you later. See you in a few hours, perhaps. Bye-bye.